Have you ever imagined that tears could have a sound other than sorrow, or that laughter could have a sparkle more precious than gold? In the simple hut of a fisherman, where the shadow of cruelty loomed, lived Aisha, an orphaned girl robbed of her childhood, left with nothing but endless work and a heart as pure as a pearl. Her life was a prison built by a hateful stepmother and her daughter, who had inherited all the world's ugliness. But on that day, as her small hands cleaned her father's catch, the sea whispered one of its deep secrets to her. A whisper that came from the lips of a strange fish, a whisper that would change her destiny forever. What if this fish was the key to a forgotten magical world? And what if the price for saving it was entering a dark labyrinth, its inhabitants unknown? Would Aisha's kind heart be her weapon for survival, or her ticket to certain doom? Prepare yourselves, for this is no bedtime story. It is a tale of the struggle between light and darkness, where every good deed is repaid with either a miracle or a curse. Join us to discover how an orphan's tears turned to rain and her laughter to gold, and how the deepest secrets dwell not in palaces, but in the hearts of the kind. It is told that once upon a time, a simple fisherman lived with his daughter Aisha, a girl to whom God had given a heart-captivating beauty. After her mother died, her father married another woman who was the complete opposite of his daughter, cruel of heart and knowing no mercy, with a daughter from a previous marriage who was as ugly in appearance as she was in character, no less coarse and foolish than her mother. One day, the father returned with a plentiful catch, and his wife ordered Aisha to clean the fish and cook it for the family. Aisha immersed herself in her work, her sweet voice echoing through the kitchen as she sang, as was her habit. Suddenly, a faint, strange sound cut through her singing. She stopped her work and looked around, bewildered, but saw no one. "Perhaps it's a hungry cat looking for food," she said to herself, and returned to her task. But the sound came again, this time more clearly. When she looked in front of her, she was stunned to see a fish of a peculiar shape addressing her, saying, "O kind and generous girl, I am the daughter of the king of the seas. My father warned me not to leave the depths, but I did not listen to his advice. I rose to the surface, where I was enchanted by the fresh air and the cries of the birds, and I swam so far that I became entangled in your father's net with my companions. I beg you to release me, for my father is surely searching for me now, and is saddened by my absence." Then it added, "When the north wind blows, cast me into the sea, and the waves will carry me to our kingdom. I promise you that I will repay this kindness one day." Aisha awoke from her daze, wondering in astonishment, "How can fish speak? What a strange thing!" The fish replied that the sea has its secrets, and that every creature on land has a counterpart in the depths of the water. With a heart fluttering between fear and hope, Aisha left her work, carefully placed the fish in a container filled with water, and hurried with it to the sea shore. When the north wind blew, and just before she cast it into the water, the fish offered her a small, shining seashell and said, "If you ever need anything, hang this shell in the direction of the north wind. It will produce beautiful music, and I will be with you in an instant." The girl threw the fish into the sea and ran back home to finish her work, fearing her stepmother would discover what she had done.
What Aisha did not know, however, was that the wicked woman had been watching her. When she saw her heading to the sea, Hatred ignited in her heart, and she decided to take revenge by complaining to her father so that he would beat and imprison her. Aisha entered the house, took a thread to tie the seashell, and hung it around her neck before busying herself with her chores. Her father returned home, his face flush with anger, but as soon as he saw her engrossed in her work, his fury subsided slightly. "Hurry up," he said, "or we'll be late for the meal, and don't forget to knead the barley bread for us." While Aisha was busy, the cunning stepmother snuck into the kitchen and emptied handfuls of salt into the food and the bread. When the father sat down to eat, he became enraged by the saltiness of the food and accused his daughter of negligence. He overturned the pot, threw the bread on the floor, and shouted, "Bring me the water jug, for I am thirsty." But the jug was empty, so the stepmother said slyly, "Fill the bucket from the well and carry it back yourself as punishment." Aisha was unaware of her stepmother's scheme and felt hot tears stream down her cheeks. Ever since her mother's death, the cruel face of life had struck her every day, and she had no choice but to endure. At the well, she found two handsome horsemen standing in confusion, for there was no bucket to reach the water. When they saw the girl with a bucket, they were delighted and asked her to give them a drink. Though she feared her father's punishment for being late, her kind heart could not refuse them. She filled the bucket and offered it to them, saying, "Please, help yourselves." The two horsemen drank, and one of them filled a water skin he was carrying. As they were about to depart, they blessed the girl. The first said, "May God reward you. I pray that whenever you laugh, gold shall scatter from your mouth, and whenever you cry, the heavens shall rain." The second added, "And I pray that silk shall be woven in the trail of every step you take." Aisha was overjoyed by these kind blessings and felt the sense of hope. On her way back, she felt the fatigue and pain in her hands as she dragged the heavy bucket, but a faint voice called out to her, "Aisha, give me some water." She looked around but found no one, yet the voice repeated, "I am here, Aisha, the orange tree." The girl looked at the tree and saw its branches were withered and it was near death. She watered it and returned to the well to refill her bucket. Before she reached home, she heard a faint meow. It was a small kitten lying on the side of the road, weakened by sickness. It said to her, "I am ill. Give me water, and may God have mercy on you." Aisha's heart filled with pity. She stroked its head and gave it water until it was quenched and life returned to it. Only a little water remained in the bucket, so the poor girl dragged her feet back to the well and refilled it, knowing she was very late. She thought to herself, "My father will beat me today, and perhaps lock me in the dark dungeon, but it does not matter. I have done good, as my mother always taught me." On her way back, the unexpected happened. The orange tree, now restored to its full vibrancy, called out to her, "Thank you, Aisha. My fragrance has returned, so from this day on may you carry the sweet scent of orange blossoms." A moment later, she heard the meow of the kitten, which had recovered its strength. "The light has returned to my eyes, so may your eyes light up the darkest of nights for you."
Joy entered Aisha's heart, and she forgot her exhaustion. But this feeling vanished as soon as she reached home and was confronted by her father's wrath. "Why are you so late? Was it not enough that you ruined my food, and now you leave me without water?" She told him what had happened on her way, and he shouted, "What business do you have with horsemen and trees? We shall see if any of them will help you when you spend 3 days in the dark dungeon. Now take off those gold earrings and wear these rags. You deserve nothing." The girl knew her stepmother had incited him. She began to weep, but her father's heart had hardened, and he showed her no mercy. A few minutes later, Aisha was transformed into a wretched girl in a tattered dress and pierced shoes before her father shoved her harshly into the darkness of the dungeon and locked the door behind her. The place was damp and dark. Aisha retreated to a corner and began to cry bitterly. Her tears flowed freely as she prayed, "O Lord, what evil have I done to deserve this miserable life?" She remembered how her kind father had changed and how happy and cherished her life had been before her mother's death. Her stepmother had grown jealous of her beauty and skill in embroidery, so she burdened her with all the household chores to prevent her from weaving those magnificent designs on silk. As she was lost in her thoughts, she saw two eyes gleaming in the darkness. She shrank back and was about to scream in terror, but she heard a familiar voice. "I am the cat you saved. I have come to light up your darkness, as I promised you." The cat approached her and sat in her lap. Suddenly, the glow from its eyes intensified until they became like two lamps illuminating the space. For the first time, Aisha saw the inside of the dungeon. It was ancient and vast, filled with beautiful ornaments and statues. The cat said, "Come with me. I will show you something." Aisha followed it, mesmerized by what she saw. Suddenly, she found one of the horsemen she had given water to at the well. He gave her a box and said, "I have fulfilled my promise. May you be cloaked in the finest of silks." She opened the box and found a silver mirror, ivory combs, and 5 luxurious silk gowns. She chose one and put it on, then combed her hair and looked in the mirror. She smiled and said to the cat, "I no longer recognize myself." They continued on their way, and soon after she met the second horseman. He gave her another box containing shoes of gleaming leather and precious jewels. She threw away her pierced shoes, put on the new ones, and adorned herself with the necklaces and rings that pleased her. Then she met the orange tree, which gave her coal, perfume, and a basket of fruit, saying, "And so I have fulfilled my promise. Know that we have come to you because of your kindness, for a person reaps what they sow." It told her that this dungeon was once the greatest of the Jinn kingdoms, but they had spread corruption on earth, and God had punished them, leaving only the good ones who are visible only to people of good heart. Aisha spent the rest of the day wandering through the forgotten kingdom, admiring the carvings on the stone pillars. Then she entered one of the houses and slept. In the morning, she found before her a platter filled with all the food one could desire. On the evening of the 3rd day, she sat near the dungeon door, waiting to be released. A few moments later, she heard her stepmother's footsteps, carrying a plate with leftovers from the previous day. When she opened the door and saw Aisha in her finest attire, adorned with silk and gold, the plate fell from her hand. "Are you really Aisha, the fisherman's daughter?" she asked in disbelief. "Yes, I am," she replied. The woman called her husband, and when he saw his daughter, his mouth fell open in astonishment. Aisha said, "It was the creatures of the forest, father. They came to repay my kindness." But the fisherman was not interested in her story. His eyes were fixed on the boxes of gold and silver. "I will buy a large boat, and we will profit greatly from fishing," he said. "Well done, Aisha. You will make your family the most distinguished in the village." He then embraced and kissed her, promising that no one would ever harm her again.
Aisha's circumstances improved, and her father forced his stepdaughter to work and abandon her laziness. Aisha returned to her art of embroidery, transferring the designs she had seen in the Jinn kingdom onto a piece of silk. When she finished it, all who saw it were amazed. The fisherman's love for his daughter grew, and he bought the boat he had always dreamed of. The stepmother felt hatred gnawing at her heart as she watched Aisha's status rise. "I will trick her to find out her secret," she said to herself. One day, she went to Aisha and apologized for her cruelty. "It is your sister's ugliness and foolishness that make me lose my senses. Do you understand?" she said. Aisha replied innocently, "Yes, I understand. My friends, the creatures of the forest, can help her. They are the remnants of the Jinn kingdom." And she told her everything that had happened. The woman smiled a cunning smile and said, "Then my daughter will become more beautiful and wealthier than you,
As for you, you will see what I will do to you, you wretched girl." Aisha was shocked by her words. The next morning, the woman gave her daughter a bucket, told her what to do, and urged her to endure the hardship so she could become rich and be granted a beautiful face by the Jinn. But the girl was stingy and cruel. When she reached the well, the two horsemen approached her and asked her for a drink. She replied rudely, "I am not your father's servant." So they cursed her. Then she passed by the orange tree, which called to her for water. When she saw how withered it was, she said, "I will tell my father to turn you into firewood for the hearth." So the tree cursed her, saying, "May your stench be as foul as your filthy tongue." Before reaching home, she found the kitten writhing in pain before her. She responded mockingly, "Stay where you are until the mice eat your tail." The cat became furious and cursed her, saying, "May the mice eat your ears in the dark, making you even uglier." When the girl returned home, her mother put her in the dungeon and locked the door. Suddenly, she saw dozens of red eyes staring at her in the darkness. Seized by terror, she lit a splinter of wood, only to see an army of rats attack her, biting her and gnawing at her ears. She began to scream and run frantically through the dungeon. She saw a gleaming silver box, and when she opened it, worms and cockroaches swarmed out, attacking her and crawling into her clothes. Horrified, she ran back and pounded on the door. When her mother opened it, she was disgusted by her daughter's filthiness. After cleaning her up, she found she had become even uglier, her face covered in bites and scratches. The stepmother became enraged. "This is all because of Aisha's plan," she said. "She tricked me, and I will find a way to get my revenge. Woe to you, daughter of the fisherman!"